Original concept was actually done by one of our concept artists named Sung. It was supposed to be a bird-like creature, eagle, a military race, and you can see some of the influences in his actual character. You can see how his face, maybe even his mouth, even looks like a beak. The horns on the back starts to represent maybe some of the feathers on a bald eagle. A very proud race, and that kind of shows in the concept. First thing we used to do was actually just draw the aliens without any clothing so we could understand the anatomy of them. But as far as bone structure goes, we were pretty limited because they had to work over the human skeleton. For combat purposes, we had the one skeleton. So the knees had to line up, the ankles, the wrists. So all we could really do is almost that dog leg, a few other changes. If you notice the concept, the arms are very long, the hips are a bit off. So we actually had to shorten the arms and make it conform to the human skeleton a bit more. All the heads are almost the same. All we really do to change them is do some of the tattooing on their face. Some of the patterning you might see on the face, that's what we can usually modify on the heads, and a bit of the coloring. But the overall shape of the head is pretty well the same. And they're all males in the game. We usually try and avoid the females because what do you do with a female Turian? Do you give her breasts? What do you do? Do you do lipstick on her? There's actually some of the concept artists will draw lipstick on the male one and they go, hey, it's done. And we're like, no, can you take this serious? This is an early 3D model of the Turian. This is way back, early Mass Effect 1, probably only about a year and a half into production. We were getting used to next-gen technology, the ZBrush, how many polys we could use. The first guys who built models, they had 3 or 4 million polys. They couldn't even operate them in max. We had to learn to put limits on them. We had to stop people from zooming in so much to try and put little bolts in there. But it was a learning process for all of us about how much detail we could get in and how realistic we can get. There's another version of the head. You'll see the shape is pretty close, but the materials aren't there. The spec, the surface, the skin on the back, it's pretty flat. We ended up having to put quite a bit more detail, maybe some of the patterning on the back, look at a lot more of reference for animal skin and so on. So Garrus back on Mass Effect 1, I don't even think we did a concept for his armor. I think what we did do is when Matt Rhodes was doing the armors, he just did a whole bunch, and we actually just picked one of those, and then we kind of came up with an idea, well, Garrus, let's make him blue and black. It was just a quick idea, just a thought, blue and black, that's Garrus's armor. We'll take one of the ones we already have, put the head on there, and then maybe we thought, well, maybe we need one more thing, so we decided to put a visor on there. Sometimes the ideas just come from a bit of back and forth and talking, and later on they become iconic, but there's really not a lot of concepts for that. This is one of the original armors. I think this is one that we probably used. We modified it a little bit for Garrus. I'm not sure how many fans remember, but Nihilus back in ME1, we had way more concepts for him, even for a character that was in the game for a very short amount of time. These are some of the things you kind of look back and you go, why did we do that, guys? So many concepts in Garrus, we hardly did any. But you can see some of the elements in here that are throughout the Mass Effect universe. Here, the arch is coming down across the chest. This is some of the language we kind of get through in the concepts throughout all the armors and keep kind of building off. Especially this one here across the chest. This is in Shepard. This is in the Solarians. You'll see Morton has that red stripe that carves down in the front. The Asari will also have that arc that goes down on their plating, and then we try and get that into every character as much as possible. This is Garrus from ME1. So you'll see how we've modified the plates. We ended up giving him some tattooing on his face to kind of make him a bit more iconic to stand out. You'll see some of the texturing in the back. Here's his eye visor. And so we just kind of modified those plates a bit more. They go a bit further back, but you actually can't see the back of his head. Saren, actually, all we really did for him was take some of those plates and really extend them further back. His go almost twice as long on Saren. All the Garrus armors did have that large shield in the back. We were trying to argue whether that was bone, is that actually some kind of a feather, kind of plumage in the back there? Is there just a cartilage? Is it skin pulled over it? And we kind of looked at it, we actually never really worried about it, but if you notice in the armors reflect that shape. For Mass Effect 2, we knew that Garrus now was the patterning on his face, his eye visor, and his black and blue armor. That was the iconic pieces of Garrus that we had to stay with. We could modify the armor, we could change it up a bit, and people would still recognize him because it's blue and black. One thing for Mass Effect 2 was he got his face shot off by a rocket, blew it right off. So we didn't want to rip it right off. The fans are going to be mad if it's just an eye on a neck dangling there and it's just this bloody mass of female fans will be mad, and you kind of want that kind of Hollywood scar, like he's still good looking underneath, you know, the rough chin. So we did a bit of reference on how maybe burns and so on would look. but we didn't want to put a lot of red in it. Like, it wasn't an oozy kind of nasty kind of heel. It was just something that you could still walk around and say, hey, it's Garrus. He's just got a bit of a damaged plate, and we still love him. And this is Garrus's armor from ME2, but instead of it just being a basic armor, blue and black, you see some of the extra detail we've added. We started to add some of these plates onto the side. We're getting more into the materials. Maybe this is cloth, maybe this is banged up metal. Put a few more lights on there. And so we were just starting to layer on more detail, give the modelers a bit more to work with. The more the modelers and us look at it, we go, well, you know, these are some things that have been bugging us over the years. Maybe she would change. I mean, Tally, we ended up modifying her hair, maybe pulling it more up, almost like it kind of represented more of a shorter haircut. Like she's maturing. She had the long flowing hood before. As a lot of women get older, they crop their hair just so it's easier to take care of. We kind of represented that in the hood. It's also fun for these guys to go back and, you know, they get a chance to do Garrus, but after a couple of years they go, hey, let's go back to Garrus, let's add some more stuff, let's really polish him up, let's take him to the next level. And so those are also fun too. They kind of give you a break from designing a character from scratch. These can go quite a bit quicker, and you know you're working on these iconic characters, and you know the fans are probably going to notice the extra attention you put into them. Now this is Garrus from ME3. Immediately most people say, hey, it's Garrus, but until you actually see 1, 2, and 3, you don't realize how far we've actually changed him. Again, the iconic arches through the chest. He's blue and black, but now we've added a bit of silver to him, a bit of chrome, kind of update him a bit more. You can see how we've added a lot more detail on his legs, on his side. These are buckles that actually hold the plates on now. His head's the same. We've changed maybe up his visor a little bit. Now we've just showed his scar. Underneath all that, the head hasn't changed that much. It's pretty well loyal to ME1. So that really shows what we've done to him, but still staying with the iconic black and blue is always going to be Garrus. Whenever you do Garrus in the future, as long as he's black and blue, kind of follows a few of these unique iconic pieces, which are the way the chest patterns go, the eye patch, and he'll always be scarred. You pretty well have Garrus. I think he's a favorite one when it comes to the questionable fan art, the one you have to keep the filter on when you're looking at. I think Garrus. Tally's really popular also. I think Tally's probably the most popular than Garrus. And Tally was one of those characters, we weren't sure, in ME1, she was an alien with a mask on. We liked her, but until you get into the story and people start to feel for her, you don't know how popular they're going to be. That's the problem with Tally. What do you do with her face? The fans have expectations of what they want to see, and if you try and do something, are they going to be disappointed? I don't know if you can ever make them happy. Because they all have their ideas, and they do a lot of fan art and a lot of back and forth in the forums about what is behind that mask. We've done some concepts. It's still in a lot of discussion, but we've been doing concepts on what they look like underneath. It's a touchy point between us and writing and what the fans want, and we'll have to see how that goes still. I better not say anything in case Casey comes barging in. Stop the interview! Knocking the cameras over. The ending? Yeah, I'll tell you the ending. Don't say any more!